All right, just like in most syllabi, you're going to have a couple of common features. One of them is the course description, which you all probably read in the course catalog. This course does cover all of the legal issues that might come to be part of your everyday experience when you are working in the field of student affairs. This course is not meant to make you a legal scholar or a lawyer, but it is meant to give you a good foundation in the kinds of issues you're going to see coming up as you do your work in student affairs. It's also going to give you that information that you need to know, particularly when do I need to call university counsel and get them involved. So once again, it's not meant to make you a lawyer, but it is meant to help you understand when you need to get assistance. The rationale, anybody who works for even a short time in student affairs understands that a lot of times things can get to a point where people start talking about legal action. So you need to know what your liability is, what your limitations are, and how you can best help and serve students when things get to a point where legal issues start to really rear their heads. This course has some particular learning outcomes, and anybody who's been through the intro course, and hopefully most of you have, can recognize the ACPA NASPA joint publication and the competencies, professional competencies that anyone in student affairs should have as a student affairs professional. This is one of those competencies, the law, policy, and governance competency, and it has several specific learning outcomes that you will recognize here. You'll see over on this side the specific learning outcomes. I have grouped them under goals and objectives that I have for you, and these are the things that you all hopefully will leave this course having learned and being able to understand or do. So I want you all to take some particular note of them. There are 3 goals and objectives that I have for the class, and each of these specific learning outcomes relates back to those goals. You'll notice that, again, I've gone to the next page, and there are 3 goals, and you really are going to be learning basically how to understand what the key issues are in higher education law and what kinds of things you need to be able to do as a student affairs professional. In particular, you're going to see some things about the difference between public and private higher education systems and what that means for how you work with students. And there are some differences if you work at a public institution as opposed to a private institution. I want you to understand some legal theories. I want you to understand risk management, which is a big one. And also you'll see a few other things in here, such as the role of the federal government and state and local governments in higher education and how those kinds of things can add regulations and policy that you need to be aware of. Again, the final one, understanding the important legal principles that you're going to use when you're making decisions or creating policy. All of those things enter in, and you need to be aware of the different legal ramifications of any decision that you make. All right, you will definitely see that there are several assignments. I've got them broken down into 4 specific categories. And I try to give you this little grid so that you can kind of keep track of where you are and what you need to be doing. You'll notice that participation is one of those heavy ones. I'm very heavy on participation in my courses. So in a second, I'm going to go over the specific point values and things that you'll need to do to get a particular grade for participation. You also will have 3 writing assignments, basically. The first one is called Key Concept Summaries, or the journal entries. I got them listed by both of those names. You'll be doing 10 of those. They're a single page. There's a template in the actual journal assignment on Blackboard, and that will give you the format that I want you to put these journal entries in. And I'll talk about those a little bit more in a second. Like I said, there are 10 of them, and you will have them starting at the end of week 1 and going through, I believe, week 9, and then one more of them on the week 13. Each of your journal entries will be due for the upcoming week on the Sunday before that week starts. And that might not make a whole lot of sense. I've put another video in, I believe in the either week one or the preliminary week folder that explains it in a little bit more depth. But each one of those journal entries is worth 5 points each. And when you start to see the grade appear in Blackboard, you'll notice that it starts off, you'll put one entry in, and I will grade it, and you will get it either up to a maximum of 5 points for each one of those. So they're cumulative. So each time you put a new one in there, it'll go up by 5 points. It's not that I'm giving you 5 out of 100 or something like that. It's just that each one of those is only worth 5 points. So don't be worried if when it starts to put numbers in your grade book that it looks like you're very, very low on the scale. It's just that they add up after at each week. So if you've got questions, you can always ask me about that. Assignment number 3 is a case facilitation or a debate. This is a group assignment, and before you get too worried about the group assignment, this one I like to use Blackboard, and I want you all to use Blackboard. There's a great group tool on here, and I will explain a little bit more about that group assignment here in a little bit. You can either do it as a case or you can do a debate. And I really encourage you all to think about doing it through the debate. There are some tools in Blackboard that you can use, one called Video Everywhere, I believe, that works really nicely for a debate. When there are 4 of you on the team, everybody gets a chance to do their own video, and it actually works out really well. I'm going to ask somebody from a previous class who actually did the debate to just give a little maybe a little audio for you that talks about how that experience worked out for them, so you can maybe make a decision to try doing the debate. The last assignment is your final exam, and this one is basically a case study style, and you will get a choice of 2 out of 4 questions that you will respond to, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end as well. So you can see that the point value total for this course is going to be 200 points, and it plays out through each of these assignments. All right, a little bit more information about each of those assignments, particularly when I'm talking about the participation. I really want to see a lot of posting on there, because if people don't have had that opportunity to answer some questions, nobody else is going to be able to respond, and there's no discussion going. I look at the discussion boards in Blackboard as the way that you all have discussions as you would in a class. And I really would like to try and keep them as organic as possible, but in order to get that discussion flowing, I've got some prompts or questions that I put on the discussion board in the course discussions forum for you each week. So there are usually about 3 different prompts that I put in there. You only need to respond with two of those prompts if you want to. You can always respond to more, but if you want an A, these are the specifications that you need to do to get an A under the discussion board grade. So hopefully this makes a little sense. Read through this. I'm going to have a spot on in the discussion boards called an FAQ, which is frequently asked questions, that responds to this. So if there are questions that you have, if you don't quite understand, then please go ahead and put up a question in the FAQ, and I will try to answer your question about the discussion board. That FAQ goes for anything about the course. If you have any questions about it, if you've got the questions, probably somebody else does as well. So go ahead and put it in the FAQ, and I will answer all those questions there so that everybody can see those responses. Again, these are the specifications for an A. If you are interested in working towards that, you will have to put up 2 original posts each week, and then you will also need to make sure that you are responding by Tuesday of that week. And the reason I have you respond that early is because if people don't have anything to respond to, there's no discussion happening. So I don't want you waiting until the end of the week to make those responses. That's why I try to get you to do all of your reading prior to the week that we're going to be having those discussions. So as I said, there are always at least 2 prompts from which to choose each week, and then once you've given your 2 original posts, that means you'll hopefully have some to respond to from your classmates. So I would need you to respond to at least 2 more messages that have been posted by a classmate. When I say substantive remarks, once again, I don't want you to say good post or I agree with you. I want you to say something that's got a little meat to it. You need to do that at least 12 times out of the 14 weeks in order to get the full points. Once again, up here at the top, those original posts that you make, you need to do every week. So 2 of them will be your own response to a question that I post every week for 14 weeks, and then the other 2 of those will come as a response to one of your classmates' postings, and you only have to do those 12 out of the 14 weeks. Again, the best posts, the ones that will receive an A, will have very few to no grammatical or spelling errors in the posts. And I have given you the ability to go in and edit your posts if you need to, once you've gone through and looked at it. If they have some grammatical errors or spelling errors, I've given you the option to be able to go in there and edit your own responses so that you can clear those up. Same thing follows for a B. Obviously, it's a little bit less. You only have to respond to those 2 original posts in 12 out of the 14 weeks, and the 2 messages that you're responding to from your classmates, again, another 12 out of the 14 weeks. These might have some grammatical and spelling errors that you didn't catch, so I'm giving you a little bit more leeway for the B. Finally, for the C, you are going to have less that you need to do, so sometimes it just happens this way. You might end up only responding in 10 out of the 14 weeks. Again, your response has to be in there by Tuesday, and then you only need to respond to 1 other message posted by a classmate. Once again, I've got some leeway in there. All right, we're looking at the Key Concept Journal now, and what you will see here is that there is a specific spot in Blackboard for journal entries, and you basically what you're doing, and I don't always tell you all this right up front, is you're going to be doing a brief of a case. So you're going to be looking at a particular concept, the one that we're looking at that week, and it might be you'll look in the schedule of classes and see all the different concepts or important points that we're looking at each week, but you'll find a case through that reading. So there will be several cases that we look at each week, and you can choose one of those to do a brief on. You're going to be giving me a summary of that particular case, giving me the important points, writing out a full legal citation of the case, and then the most important part here is implications. So you're going to look at that case and what kinds of implications it has on your daily work as a student affairs professional. I really want these to be made personal. I don't want them to be third person. I want you to look at a particular concept and think about how that concept impacts the work you do on a daily basis. So let's say you're looking at, you're working in, say, career services, and the concept we're looking at that particular week might be disability law or something like that. So we're looking at maybe the Americans with Disabilities Act. How does the American Disability Act or any of the legal cases that go to that, how does that impact what you do as a career services officer? Well, it might be a couple of things. It might be making sure that when you have workshops on resume writing, that you've made sure that you're providing those in an accessible area or something like that. Make it as personal to your work as you possibly can. This is the most important part of the Key Concept Journals, and that's the way that I want you to write those. When you're putting these journals together, you will have an edit, a text box in that journal entry area, and I want you to write everything out and put the template in there. I don't want you to write it on Word and then attach it. I want it to be just right there in the actual text box. right, so looking at the next assignment, let's see if I can pull that up as much as possible. This one is a case facilitation or the debate exercise, and it's going to be up to you. You as a group will get to choose which one you want to do. I'm going to save this one for a little bit later because I think it takes a little bit more explanation. So just go ahead and read through this, and once again, if there's a question you have, please put it into the FAQ, and then I can respond to that question and share that response with everybody. Okay, finally what you're going to be doing is a final exam, and I think I said it a little bit before. It's basically going to be the same kind of thing that you'll have done already on the key concept journals, the journal entries. You'll have done the same kind of analysis and looking at cases in the case study or debate exercise, and you'll do the same kind of thing in the final exam. It'll be a case style question. You'll have 4 of them, and you'll get to choose 2 of the questions of the 2 out of the 4 questions to respond to in your final. Basically, it'll be a situation, and you will be applying a legal principle to that situation, and how you, as a student affairs administrator, might respond to that situation with your own legal understanding of how to deal with it. It will be an hour and a half essay exam. It'll be kind of similar to what you're going to end up doing when you do take your comprehensives. So it's meant to give you that practice so that you feel comfortable with that style of timed exam. And it will be open book, honor-based. Hopefully it won't be as scary as it might sound to start with. I think once you get to that point in the semester, you're going to feel very comfortable doing this kind of an exam and applying the legal principles that you'll learn in this course. Again, the class policies, attendance and participation, I really spelled that out for you in assignment number 1 because I really do mean that the discussion boards are where you're going to have active participation and discussion amongst yourselves. I really want you to use the discussion boards as the kind of class conversation that you might have if you were in an on-campus class. Again, if you have any disabilities or need any accommodations for test taking or any other class activity, please let me know or get in touch with University Testing and Disability Services so that we can make sure that any accommodation you need to be successful in this class we can make for you. Again, I often, unfortunately, have errors in the syllabus, or there might be some other things that we need to deal with. So anytime there's an issue for a student need or a concern, please bring that up with me. I am always willing to make corrections, make sure that everything is understandable and it works for you. If there is ever a situation where there's a dispute about timelines or when something's due, know that I will always solve that in your favor. You do not ever pay for my mistakes. So if there's ever a problem, I will always make sure to resolve it in your favor. Weather should not be an issue for this class since it is online. We should be able to just continue on without any interruptions for weather or anything like that. If you do at some point have a problem, maybe with your online service or something like that, please let me know so that we can try and make some kind of response to that. Again, a lot of the issues in here might end up being controversial or eliciting some kind of response from you all. There's a couple of them that I know for sure will be rather an interesting discussion. Please make sure that you are civil and that you are courteous with each other. There are ways to express differences of opinion that do not result in rudeness or anything like that. I will be watching for that kind of thing and be respectful of everyone's opinions, regardless of whether or not they match yours. Academic integrity is a big thing with me. It's one of my research interests, and I do pay particular attention to this. Um, you are graduate students, and it is expected at this point that you understand correct citation and that you understand what plagiarism means and how to make sure that you do not have any problem with that, or that there is any question that your work is your own. I really expect everyone to do their own work, and if they do bring in outside resources, to make sure that you are properly attributing those resources. Please do not make anything up. And when you are asked to summarize something, make sure they're in your own words, particularly in the key concept journals. I don't want to see you copying and pasting out of the cases themselves. I want to see you summarizing those cases. Anytime you're writing stuff for me that is your work, I want you to be proud of that and actually use a phrase similar to this. It doesn't have to be this exact phrase, but something similar to it that tells me that this work is your own, and shows your name, and that you understand that that is scholarly work that you have created yourself. As I said, this is something that I'm very, very passionate about. I want you to understand that academic work needs to be your own. You are doing it, you need to get the grade for yourself. So if you're using someone else's work, obviously, I would give them a grade. I wouldn't want to give it to you. So make sure that the grades you earn are the grades that you've worked hard for. And finally, anything, always ask me. I am very, very open to any kind of questions. I want to work with you, and I really do want everybody to be successful in this course, in any courses I teach, actually. So please don't be afraid to ask me any question you want. Like I said, I really don't bite, and I don't scream, and I don't throw fits. I really do want to make sure that you all are successful and that this course is useful for you.